secondary point of that section is the sentiment, but
Yeah.
the primary point is encouraging,
Right.
provoking one another to love him.
I always looked at that as sort of, it's to get your batteries recharged, so to speak. I mean, it perks you up. It helps you to stir up to good works. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to read, Galatians. Let me read Galatians, the 20th, or let's see, this is when, I hope I didn't do anything wrong, but that means a lot to me when I read that scripture.
No, I agree. That's a good comment and helps us put things in perspective.
When you look at it, encouraging others to do right is what we want to do. Because if we don't encourage people to do right, they don't encourage us to do good and right, love the Lord and follow Christ's example. There are plenty of people that are going to be discouraging and trying to encourage us to go the wayward side.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure.
Well, what would we be at if somebody had encouraged us when we was a younger Christian? We was having difficulty. They encouraged us, so we could always pass those encouragement on.
And there's some questions here at the end I want to cover, some thought questions, discussion questions that's going to hit on some of these things. All right, let's turn to Galatians 6. And we'll read verses 7 through 10. Who would like to read that? Will?
Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, this he will also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption. But the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. So then, while we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, and especially to those who are of the household of the faith.
Okay. So, as others are encouraged and grow stronger, how does that impact the encourager, the one doing the encouraging? If you're encouraging someone and they're growing stronger, how does that impact you? Pardon?
Makes you strong.
Makes you stronger.
Doesn't make you want to stop.
You don't want to stop.
I don't want to stop doing it.
Anybody else?
Well, I think you're encouraged if you're encouraging somebody and they're doing good, then it's helping you. It's better to give than receive. When you're giving encouragement, you're going to get more back than you're giving.
Yeah.
It still builds you up when you see that person is doing good. And you're going to feel good. And they're going to feel good.
I think you do feel good. I feel good. Yeah. And it talks about you'll reap what you will sow. Okay, so if I'm not encouraging someone, I'm not going to reap that good feeling or the benefits necessarily of that person growing and becoming more mature and stronger spiritually. It says, don't grow weary. How does that fit into all this? We're talking about encouraging others, but don't grow weary.
Sometimes it's hard to encourage people. They have a difficult time being encouraged, and it just takes time.
Every time you encourage someone, does that have an immediate effect? So you're not going to bat 1,000, right? I mean, there's going to be times where it may not be an immediate, you may not see something immediate from the encouragement that you gave someone. Would that come into play later? Could it? Yeah. It may not make a dent in that person's life, okay? But it might. Maybe it's pretty soon. Maybe it will be later. I know that there's those here, attend here, and those that some have fallen away, and I know people kept encouraging them, and they came back to the Lord. So that's pretty powerful, right? Encouragement. That's pretty powerful to make that happen. I remember Weta, right? I mean, when she was here,
I was fixing to say, Weta, and there's been some others, it's a great encouragement to see them and know a little bit about them, and then to see them here, as often as they can.
You look at Barnabas,
we're going
what
to.
he did.
We're going to, yeah.
You're going to?
Yeah. Shh.
We don't need to forget, there's always somebody using us as a role model for them. So if we start letting down, we're letting them down too. And that might discourage them, they go away the other way.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we have to think about things like that. Keep ourselves filled up too.
So how does that impact the encourager? Well, we're doing what Christ has instructed us to do. And what's the result of that? In verse 8 that we just read, what's the result? Two words. First word E. Everlasting life. Yes, everlasting life. And we talk about don't grow weary. I think about God and the patience He had with the Israelites in the Old Testament. That would be trying. That would require a lot of patience. But it was done out of love. And, we have our short life on this earth. And, I'm guilty of complaining, well, why can't somebody else do this? Or I don't have time for this. Or really, that's such a poor excuse. But don't grow weary in this or anything else that we do as we live our Christian life. But we shouldn't grow weary. It's not a long time in the grand scheme of things. All right. So as you encourage others or others encourage you, let's say you're encouraging others. So we have people encouraging others. They're growing spiritually. How does that impact the church? How does that impact our congregation? How does it strengthen it?
Everybody grows together. Everybody's closer.
Sort of developing a relationship that helps. Right.
It's unity.
Unity. Team building. The family. So I think it's, I think we're very lucky to have our congregation. I'm sure we've all been to congregations where maybe there's not a contingent of young people. Maybe there's not the zeal that needs to be there for whatever reason. But it's when you have people sort of stirred up, on fire, motivated to do things spiritually, it just makes for a strong congregation. All right. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. Acts 4:36. Someone read that verse for us, please. Who'd read? Acts 4:36. Somebody. Encourage me, someone. Yeah. Thank you.
And Joseph, who by the apostles was surnamed Barnabas, was being interpreted the son of the consolation, a Levite in the country of Cyprus.
Okay. So, son of consolation. What does the ISV say? Son of what? Anybody have the ISV? Barnabas is called the son of encouragement. And then American Standard Version, he's called the son of, pardon? Or maybe I have the wrong one. I had exhortation. Was that ASV a different one? Maybe I may have messed that up. New American, okay. But you have son of consolation, son of encouragement, son of exhortation. So that's how Barnabas was known. All right, let's turn over to Acts 11. Acts 11, 19 through 26. And if anybody was holding out for a longer amount to read, now's your chance. So, Acts 11, 19 through 26. Who would read that? Okay.
What, 19 through 26?
Yes.
Now those who were scattered after the persecution that arose over Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch, preaching the word to no one, to no one but the Jews only. But some of them were men from Cyprus and Cyrene, who, when they had come to Antioch, spoke to the Hellenists, preaching the Lord Jesus. And the hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number believed and turned to the Lord. Then news of these things came to the ears of the church in Jerusalem, and they sent out Barnabas to go as far as Antioch. When he came and had seen the grace of God, he was glad and encouraged them all that with purpose of heart they should continue with the Lord. For he was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit and of faith, and a great many people were added to the Lord. Then Barnabas departed for Tarsus to seek Saul, and when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch. So it was that for a whole year they assembled with the church and taught a great many people, and the disciples were first called Christians in Antioch.
All right. So we see Barnabas there in verse 26 in Antioch. And if you look up above earlier verses, we have men of Cyprus and Cyrene, that a great number of people believed and turned to the Lord. So you have two occasions here. And what did Barnabas do in both instances here? In the first part of this passage that we read, what did he do? In verse 23. Who, when he was come and had seen the grace of God, was glad, and he exhorted them all, that with purpose of heart they would cleave unto the Lord. So he's encouraging these new converts, right? To be faithful and to develop spiritually in the Lord. And then in verse 26, we see him preaching where? Or preaching where? Antioch. So there's more we could do, but this gives you an idea about how Barnabas encouraged others. And I think it's a good example for us. Do we encourage those that have recently been converted? I've not always done that like I should. I know that in times past there's been people here that we really weren't familiar with as a congregation that were baptized and they really didn't have a relationship with a lot of the people here, and they ended up not attending or being faithful. And I think, man, I really didn't do anything to encourage that person, and I really should have. But that's just another opportunity where I could do a much, much better job of encouraging others. Todd?
Every time I study Barnabas, I always think about what would have happened had he just remained quiet and didn't do anything with John Mark when they had that split with Paul. I mean, the text doesn't tell us, but I mean, whatever he did, he took him under his wing and went on with it.
Right.
And he encouraged.
He was. I mean, yes, that was the name that he was given, son of encouragement. And I for sure can do a lot more than what I'm doing to be more like Barnabas. Okay, we're going to have these. I apologize, not advancing that, but I want to sort of go through this real quick. And Todd, will you take notes as we sort of go through these and list some of these things off? Will you sort of just take notes, because we're going to compare them to something else here in just a minute. Okay, and some of these might bleed into each other, but I want us to think about when we are doing the encouraging, let's list some of the ways, the different ways we can encourage others. How can we encourage others? And I'm talking about the how. We'll talk about the when. But what are the ways we can encourage others?
One of the big things that encourages me sometimes is that when I see other Christians, especially making it through similar situations like me, that gives me the strength and to be able to just go ahead and go against what I might think to do in that situation. Seeing other people struggle through things gives you the courage and the willpower to continue through it because they're making it. So when you think,
All right, so let's flip that for this one. So, how can we encourage others? Set a good example. If we know someone's going through a difficult situation that we've gone through, is there an opportunity to encourage that person? Yeah. There's some other people had their hands up. So, James.
Just to say, glad to see you here today. Just to make them feel welcome that they're at church and just simple things like that.
Okay.
Some people need an end goal, need a target to describe to them or a goal at the end. It gives them something to strive for and achieve. That helps encourage them to get the goal.
Have you ever accomplished anything in your life that early on you thought you'd never do? I mean, have you? You've maybe later in life or what, and that's okay, but I mean, you've accomplished something that you weren't able to do early in your life. Did anybody ever encourage you along the way? Yeah. All right. When should we encourage others? What are the different? Do I only encourage someone that's weak? So, when would be a good time to encourage someone? Give me some specifics.
We always encourage others through our actions, the way we live our life and encourage others.
Okay. Through our life.
People that may or may not, we may not know they're paying attention.
That's the answer you gave in the class back there last week, wasn't it?
Sorry.
No, that's great. Yeah.
I was just going to add to different ways, encouraging people by praying with them or studying something, being very encouraging because then you're learning what you need to do and when. I think every opportunity by having our eyes open, constantly focusing on Christ and focusing on others and not ourselves, you see those opportunities to take them.
Yeah, and I think having our eyes open, that's a key phrase. So different ways we can encourage. This could be a text message, an email, a comment at services, or a phone call, a letter, praying with someone. All those are different ways that we could encourage others. Alan?
I know at work, something that's really stressed a lot is a handwritten note sent to somebody's home. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's very rare these days. And that can, there's many ways to encourage, but that can be very meaningful.
For you millennials, that's a piece of paper and a pencil. Just all right. When I'll pay for that. But when should you encourage others? Like, what about when someone's, like we were talking about earlier, someone is just baptized? And we do, I think, when that happens, there's a lot of people that come up and tell that person that they're proud of them, they appreciate what they did. What about before they're baptized? What about if someone's at the, at that age where they're thinking about becoming a Christian? Is that an opportunity to encourage someone? What about, Jody's not, I don't see Jody, but Jody, I think he dreaded teaching the auditorium class years ago, but other people encouraged him and helped him, and he had the confidence and he had the desire and he was able to do it. Alan?
I think along that line, sometimes we encourage somebody by challenging them to do something and just basically
planting that thought in their mind, somewhat, not forcefully, but in a positive way. I've seen it happen with a young person, you know, they're an age that they could respond to the gospel and just saying, how about, why don't we baptize you today? Just saying something to them
Yeah.
like that. And it may just be that little thing that puts them over the hump
Right.
that they need.
You never know. You might not know exactly where they are. And Alan's right. That encouragement may, you know, push it over the top where they'll take action.
Do you know that you can, that we can encourage each other here at Highway 65? All of us. I like to, before I come in, I like to shake hands, or I like to get to meet people and try to encourage them. And that means a lot, because there have been a lot of times that I have never been encouraged. I've encouraged myself by what you're teaching, what we're teaching, and what everybody does. But as far as going out and here I've been encouraged, and that means a lot. But I go to Arby's and I go encourage people down there, and you'd be surprised how many young folks you run into, how many middle age you can encourage, you know.
Right.
And they'll ask you, where do you go? I say, I go to Highway 65. And I had some people that would come, you know, and they'd actually tell me, or they'd tell somebody else, well, we met Highway 65 through Don Rogers that studied with us.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to people.
Right. It does. And it's, you know, it's very easy to do, and it can mean a lot. And we're almost out of time. I want to sort of flip this. So Todd was taking some notes about how and when we could encourage others. All right, let's flip it. Let's say you're the one on the receiving end of the encouragement. What are the different ways someone can encourage you? And Kimberly gave us an example.
When someone tells me, Jacob, you're not being the Christian you need to be, when they're truly looking out for who I am and who I need to be following Jesus Christ.
Okay. So pointing out something that may be amiss in your life. What's other ways? How do you know, how have others encouraged you? When did they do it? Was it good times, bad times? You know, how did it impact you? And what I'm really trying to think about is, you know, you want to encourage others, but think about, there's probably times when you thought, well, you know, I'm going through a difficult time and no one really paid much attention to me. Very few people expressed concern or whatever. So if you feel like that and there was opportunity that people didn't take advantage of, let's take that and you know, put that into practice in your life and learn from others where they may not have shown the encouragement to you, and you know how it feels. Well, you know, don't let that happen to someone else. You be the encourager and go and help others who may need the encouragement. Anything else? I mean, if you think about it from your viewpoint, somebody's encouraging me. What do I need in the way of encouragement? Or is it the same things that we listed when you were doing the encouraging? Listening. Yes.
Sometimes, so you can figure out how to encourage.
And Sunday morning we were studying Job. Did his friends encourage him? No. And sometimes you're in a situation where I can't help. I don't know how to help someone. I don't know what to do. But rather than just say, I don't know what to do and just walk away from it, I mean, sometimes just saying, I'm thinking about you, or I wish I knew what to do, but just sitting with them, talking to them, just letting them know you're concerned, does that go a long way? Yeah, I think it does. So that's just another opportunity that we have where we can encourage others. I'm just trying to get us to think, okay, here's how I wish people would encourage me. Well, make sure you're practicing that as you encourage others. All right. What does this, when I'm encouraging or you're encouraging me, what's the impact to our congregation? We've sort of hit on this. Does it help us grow? Help us be more active, more faithful, more loving? I would say yes, it does. And again, just trying to think about practical ways we can encourage others. You may think of an example where someone encouraged you, or you encouraged someone, or you witnessed someone encouraging another person. Think about the result. Hopefully you think of situations where the result was a person growing and becoming more spiritual. Any last questions? All right. Thank you for your comments.